Welcome to the Back to Brick Property Podcast. I'm your host, David Lamb. On this podcast, we'll be stripping property investors and business people alike back to brick to find out how their journey can help you on your journey.
This podcast is brought to you by Orange Sales and Lettings. If you know someone that is looking to sell or let a home, please get in touch. Referral fees are available. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to the Back to Brick Property Show, sponsored by Orange Sales and Lettings. I'm your host, David Lamb. Today's guest is Adam Garland, a portfolio landlord in the Northeast, despite being from Kent originally. He now lives in the Midlands. Adam, how are you doing?
I am very well, thank you. Dave, how are you?
I'm very well, mate. Thank you for asking.
Thank you for having me.
Adam, thanks for coming on. I've wanted you to come on here for a while now. Your story is very different to a lot of other people's in quite a few ways. Incredible story, in fact. Now, we connected years ago. I'd actually heard your a previous podcast that you'd done with Mike Stenhouse. And literally, I was driving to Birmingham and back because I was working down there in that period, during that period. So I listened to your podcast for like an hour and a half. And then I went to a networking event like 3 days later in Stockton-on-Tees at the Hilton Hotel. And I could just hear this voice behind me. And I was like, that's that guy I've just listened to. So I went over and introduced myself. And yeah, we've been good friends ever since. I can't remember how long ago that was.
It was like 2018, and to be honest, I can only apologize for having to listen to me for an hour and a half. That's torturous, but
yeah, it's the first time I've slept at the wheel.
Still got the scars.
No, it was a great story. In fact, I listened to it 2 or 3 times because at that time I was buying aggressively and BRR and interest rates were amazing, and there was 50 grand houses everywhere, and you and I and many others were making the most of it. I feel very fortunate to have lived through that period actually as an investor. So yeah, we got chatting, and obviously your story is incredible, the amount of commitment that you threw into it in the early days. So why don't you take us a bit further back initially? So what was life like before property? Tell us a bit about life while you were growing up.
Okay, well, thank you. That was a lovely introduction.
No problem.
Yeah, so before property, I was an electrician, living in London. Before that, I actually grew up in Kent, but yeah, I didn't really have any aspirations to do anything in property. It hadn't really crossed my radar, especially living in London. I couldn't really afford a house, like a flat there, let alone thinking that I could build a portfolio.
Yeah.
And I think like it was probably, I guess, because I'd started looking at maybe sort of like help to buy schemes and stuff like that. So I'd started looking at maybe ways I could buy a house in London, and it was so expensive that I just thought maybe I could just buy a buy to let elsewhere and just sort of like cover some of the rent maybe. And then I guess that sort of sucked me into some of that Facebook algorithms. And then next thing I knew, I was sort of like learning all about different ways that you could buy houses, and found myself in like a free 2-hour seminar, and I was like, what is going on? What am I doing here? And then yeah, kind of like one thing led to another really, and it sort of opened my eyes to what was actually possible. And we didn't have a huge amount of money. We had like, I think we had about 45 grand at that point that we were hoping to spend as a deposit, which wouldn't really go far enough in London. But yeah, it was weird to know. It was amazing to find out that actually that pot could actually spread between quite a few different houses if you used it wisely.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you said you found yourself in a seminar. Which one was that then?
It was known as Legacy back then. Yeah. I think they've changed to like Asset Account. I don't think they're not even trading anymore. I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
They're all much of a muchness really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest, I was completely new to like the selling techniques or any sort of like seminar type thing. It was a real like a bit of a shock.
These seminars they do work because there's a massive percentage of my guests on that have done very, very well out of property so far that I've had on have come through some kind of coaching, some kind of training that started with an initial free seminar.
They're selling machines. Yeah, they work all right.
They literally are.
It's mental. Like yeah, the amount of money that they ask for and some of these is like eye-watering, and you wouldn't even really want to spend that on a house. And then next thing you know, you've sort of walked out of one of these rooms and you're like, oh my God, I just
Yeah,
spent a ridiculous amount of money to learn how to make more money.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, for some people, obviously it didn't work.
yeah,
And I think there's an element of don't know, sort of scamming and
yeah,
dishonesty in it for sure. Um, but you know, for some people it does work, and I was one of the lucky few, I guess. So
yeah, yeah. You make your own luck, and so you've been through the seminar, you've done the courses. So why the Northeast? Why specifically the Northeast?
that was because in London we couldn't do it there for what we wanted to do. We wanted to sort of do the classic BRR route as basically everyone else does when they start out.
Yeah,
And we knew we couldn't do it in London. Realistically, the best places that would work were about a 2 or 3 hour drive away, and they were still potentially quite expensive. So I kind of like looked at if I were to drive another hour, I could get houses for a similar price for the low ends that I was looking in, like Leeds or Manchester or something like that. But it was in the nicer areas, which was what sort of initially drew me to the Northeast because
yeah,
I really liked it. There was some really nice sort of like pockets that I could really see myself sort of investing in and actually eventually moving to for a year, which we'll probably get onto in a bit. But
yeah,
yeah, so that was it really. Price essentially.
yeah. So your first trip up to the Northeast, then tell us about that. Did you literally just drive up aimlessly, or did you book a load of viewings in before you came up?
Um, God, it's hard to remember now. I think pretty much. I think we booked some viewings in, but actually no, I don't think we did. I think we drove up aimlessly thinking about it because we were looking at a few different areas, and we settled on the Northeast because we kind of like we looked at like three other areas, I think two others maybe, like three in total. And we were just scouting out really, just called into estate agents, just had chats with sort of local people and letting agents as well and things like that, and just sort of tried to scope out the area really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it was we didn't have a clue what we were doing,
No.
especially looking back, like we were just bumbling around.
That's
Yeah.
often the best place to start from, though, isn't it? Because you got no preperceptions of anywhere. You're literally going in. You look completely innocent, and I think when you speak to agents, they want to help you because they can see that you genuinely don't have a clue.
Oh yeah, we didn't have a clue. Yeah.
Yeah,
And they were really, yeah, that was the thing is, the estate agents do have a classic sort of a reputation, but that I'd never bought a house, so I hadn't ever spoken to a estate agent. But all the people up there, I was like, these people are absolutely wonderful. I'm
yeah,
I'm sold because yeah, all the people we spoke to were just so lovely,
yeah.
so giving with their time, and we just thought, yeah, this is where we want to base our investments really.
So where did you head first? Where within the Northeast did you head first?
Middlesbrough, and
Yeah,
that's where we stayed really. Middlesbrough, Stockton, Billingham, and the sort yeah, most of Teesside really. But
yeah,
Middlesbrough was the main base because that was the one we heard of, probably because
yeah,
of the football.
yeah. Probably, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
I think
hadn't heard of
Middlesbrough's been
Stockton.
in Middlesbrough. The place has been in the news for many other reasons as well, as well as football. But we won't talk about that.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
you come up, and how long did that familiarity sort of process take? How long was it before you felt confident enough to buy a property here?
Well, we went up once and we decided that that was the right one, but
Oh,
we knew
okay.
that we were gonna yeah, we knew that we were gonna have to offer many because on loads of properties. So it wasn't like we were going to pick it and be like, cool, we'll go up next time and buy one. We knew it
Yeah,
was going to be a slog because we wanted to make that 45 grand, like I said, go as far as we could. And that meant leaving as little in properties as possible. So sort of like ideally under 5 grand. But we were offering to try and get everything out.
yeah.
So yeah, I think we put out about 70 offers or so between April, which is when we first went up, and August, which is when we got our first one accepted. So yeah, we're just
70, did you
hammering
say?
7-0. Yeah.
70 offers in 4 months. Right.
Yeah. It was about
Okay.
that 70 or 80. I can't remember the exact number, but
'Cause that 45, if they were all accepted, that 45 grand was going to be spread quite thin, wasn't
oh yeah, for sure. They would have been creaking.
it? So the plan with that 45 grand was, I'm guessing then, to buy one property. So it's the deposit, the stamp duty, etc. the refurb, and then recycle as much of that back 45 grand back out as you can.
Kind of, but also no.
Right.
The plan was not to buy it with that 45 grand because I wanted to hold that back and use that to spread between properties. Because if I bought it with that 45 grand, that would then be trapped for realistically about a year.
Yeah.
So that meant I could then maybe go with investors after that, but then I wouldn't be able to, if that refinance came in earlier and came in a bit short, then I wouldn't have anything to
Yeah.
pay the investors back. So instead, I raised money through investors and started that from day one. And also, we got that first property accepted, and then about a week later, a second one got accepted. So had that have been the plan, that would have fallen through anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah, the plan
Okay.
was to yeah, go through investors straight away.
So you're using investors from day one,
Yes.
and is that due to the teachings of the legacy course?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It was all about numbers really for me. I'm quite happy with I guess the number side of it in terms of like knowing this is how much I'm putting in, this is how much is going to come out.
Yeah.
And yeah, it probably was a bit of a gamble, but that's why I wanted to keep that 45 grand back because I knew that yeah, I might be like 5, 10, maybe 15 grand out on like the refinance, but like 45 grand was like half the value of the whole house. So like
Yeah.
if we were off, then we'd still have enough to pay them back anyway. So it
Yeah.
it kind of like in one sense seems reckless, but at the same time, I knew that like the worst case scenario is I'm going to leave a lot more money in this property than other people. And like I said, I got two accepted, so it would have had to be like two wildly like wildly out valuations.
Yeah.
And then, but
So
yeah.
at that stage, that day one stage, how were you finding investors, and B, how easy was it to convince them to part with the cash, given that you had zero track record of investing in property?
Yeah, not that easy. I started with my network really, like friends, family, and just got bits from various, yeah, sort of friends and family really to begin with.
Yeah.
That
What
wasn't that,
were they like small amounts? Sorry, were they like small amounts from multiple people?
yeah, so like 20K, 30K, and maybe, yeah, but about sort of like 20 to 30K chunks that I was able to pull together to sort of like buy the property in cash if I needed to, or bridge it, and then also do the refurb. So yeah, I knew that wasn't very scalable though, because I kind of exhausted that friends and family pretty quickly as
Yeah.
they're not loaded. So
Yeah.
um, but it was a good place to start. And yeah, I think that's how probably everyone does it in terms of raising finance is look at your network first, because I didn't have a track record, but they knew my personality and they knew like I guess my like conviction with things and things like that. So I was able to lean on that side of things rather than the property. And also, if you the main thing I was selling was the return as well. So fixed return. If it's sitting in the bank, it's not making any money. I mean,
Yeah.
you've heard the spiel before, but um, as long as you can prove that you know what you're doing in terms of you give them a business plan, or show them the numbers if they want to see the numbers, or show them the research if they're particularly interested in that sort of stuff,
Hmm.
or if they're just like, yeah, I believe in you if you think this is a good idea, and you can show them how the money's going to come back out. I
Yeah.
found that was good enough to get started.
Great. So you found your investment area, you found some cash, you are obviously quite comfortable with your numbers and your spreadsheets. You've found the properties. If you've made 70 offers, then you're obviously pretty certain on what you're looking for. So you've made that first purchase. How easy was it to do the renovation?
uh, So, as I said before, I was an electrician, and that gave me a bit of, I think, overconfidence because I thought I probably just knew how to do all of it.
Yeah.
Turns out I still did know how to do the electric side of things, or like at least sort of roughly price it, but I didn't really know how to price the rest of it. So, so for the first one, actually for the first two, we got a sort of construction company, well, a refurb company to do it, rather than how I did it post that period where I would get trades in and manage it myself. But yeah, that was I think they sort of saw us coming a bit. It was sort of recommended through the network, like legacy network. Um, and yeah, I mean, it wasn't a disaster. It was fine, but it was really slow, took ages. I'd go up there. I was quite naive. Often property was empty. There was no one working there. Um, and yeah, it took like 5 months when they said it was going to take like 2 months.
Hmm.
Quite expensive, very Billy Basic sort of stuff they used. Whereas when I
Yeah,
did it myself, I'd use more hardware and things and things like that. But they got the job done. And
yeah.
yeah, refinance came in roughly where I wanted. So that was all that mattered really.
So during that refurb, you were coming up what, once a week and keeping an eye on things?
Yeah, so what was kind of happening for that for 2018 is I'd pretty much take off every Friday, and then um I'd probably do that a Friday every other week or something, and then go up a Saturday. So I'd go up every week one way or another. But I preferred to use, and I was self-employed, so it meant I didn't get paid then, but I also had a bit more flexibility.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it was obviously like a bit annoying, but it sort of like built a habit. And I felt that was quite important. And the thing with weekdays is you get a lot longer with the agents. Often on Saturdays, they're only open
Yeah,
till like lunchtime and stuff like that. So yeah, it was kind of like if I was doing a 5 hour drive, or 10 hours both ways, then I wanted to pack in a good amount of viewings.
yeah.
So yeah, that's why I did it like that.
So tell us about the outcome of that first deal, and run us through the exact numbers of that first deal. So
So that one we was actually an auction property. We bought it for 35,000. Spent, I think it was like 23, something like that. And then a refinance for 75. So
brilliant,
52, 250 mortgage. So pretty solid chunk of money out.
great start then.
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty good. And then the next one was I think like 45 purchase price. Testing my memory now. I think that was about 20K, maybe just slightly under 20K, like 18 or 19. And that one actually I think it got downvalued personally. It got valued at 82, I think. So we left it a bit more in that one. Um, but since we've refinanced it again and it's achieved 100, which is what I was expecting. So I was kind of
Yeah,
expecting to get like 75 mortgage for that one, which is what I based the numbers on.
yeah,
And we did eventually.
yeah. We second time round.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But that was probably our worst deal, actually, weirdly, that second one. Other
Right.
than
Okay.
that, they've been really good since then.
So you've achieved the numbers that you set out to, or pretty close to. You know, you've proven that you know what you're doing to your investors. Did they then ask for their cash back, or were they happy for you to just keep rolling on with their cash and look for the next deals?
A couple of them did, but most of them we're still actually working with now. So we
Right.
just got it rolling. They're happy with the return. They don't sort of like have anything they need to spend the money on or want to. They're probably happier just to get the sort of like 5 to 8% income, depending on what we have set up with them.
Yeah.
And yeah, we still work with them now. So yeah, yeah, I think that's once you get used to that money just dropping in your bank from for doing nothing,
Yeah.
it gets quite addictive. So I think
Yeah.
we don't really want to lose that,
Yeah. For sure.
especially with that uncertainty in everything else, like bills and stuff like that. If you have that solid amount, unwavering amount coming in every single month,
Mhm.
it's pretty good. So yeah, we
Yeah.
feel like we've helped. Yeah, so I feel like we've helped them as well as they've helped us.
Oh, without a doubt, it's win-win, isn't it? And so you know, and the more deals you were doing, the more confidence they'll have had in you, and the more confidence they'll have had in the safety of their cash as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean it got to, well, it certainly is the point now, but within a year or two, it was the point where they didn't really care where the money was, what the money was being used for. It was still in
Yeah.
property, don't you
Yeah.
but yeah, there wasn't any talk of like security or anything like that. It was just like cool, just keep it rolling, keep it
Brilliant.
going.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how I've worked with quite a few people since then is once you've done one deal with them or maybe even two for some people, they're just like, yeah, that's fine. Just I can see the money's there, especially when you show them the refinance. Like, do you want the money back? We can give it to you, or do you want us to keep paying you your interest?
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, they're just like, oh, cool. Yeah, it
Yeah.
worked. Great. But yeah, I'll
Yeah.
just keep taking the money, please.
Exactly. Yeah. But if they can see that big lump of capital landing, and again, it's peace of mind for them, isn't it?
Yeah,
That at
exactly.
any time they can have it back, especially in the low interest rate environment that it was back then. I know
Yeah.
the base rate's gone up, but still savings rates are still rubbish, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's yeah, great for them.
Yeah.
Don't have to do
So how
anything.
quickly you've got a little bit of momentum? You bought two deals. How quickly did you increase the portfolio from there?
So end of 2018, I decided to quit being an electrician and move up to Middlesbrough. And so I was living there like Monday to Friday. Holly, my wife now, who recently got married, she was still living in London. So I was like coming down for the weekends and then spending Monday to Friday up in the Northeast. And then that's when I started sourcing as well. And yeah, I was basically just offering every single day pretty much, out offering, doing refurbs to investors, doing, yeah, and sourcing properties.
Yeah.
And then I
Was
did
it was the aim always to become a sourcer, or were you just finding more deals than you could afford to buy?
not at all. It was the reason I did that was so I could basically quit being an electrician, and it would be a way that I could um, create a monthly income for myself before
Yeah.
I built the property portfolio. I wouldn't say I had too many deals because I'd always try and do them myself first. But if I couldn't raise the money or I felt like maybe I probably should just I don't know, not maybe not slow down, but um I don't know, various reasons. I knew I needed to source as well because I needed money to like be able to keep being up there. So although it would have
Yeah.
been great to do every single one, that would have left me quite exposed, and then I wouldn't have had really an income for that period of time. Obviously, like, looking back now, I wish I'd bought more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We all say that, don't we? So,
Yeah.
how many properties did you have when you actually made the move up to Middlesbrough to live Monday to Friday? How many properties did you have then?
Um, I think we only had two, but I think we'd had the offer accepted on the third, or maybe we did. I can't remember. It's a bit blurred, but we definitely had two that were like done. And I think the third, oh yeah, no, we'd had the offer accepted in like November, December or something. So we were purchasing that third
Right.
one. So we only had two, and they were just being rented out in sort of January. Like I said, they took like 5 months. And that first auction property we bought was actually like a 14-day completion. So we literally had that like mid-August, even though we only got it accepted at the beginning of August.
Brilliant.
Um, so yeah, that was sort of ready end of January, and the other one was about the same. So we had them both rented out by then. But I mean, it wasn't a lot in terms of income,
Yeah.
really.
How was Holly's reception when you suggested that you should move from Kent to 5 hours north to Middlesbrough?
uh, I mean, yeah, she fully supported it. She went through the courses with me as well. She was doing a PhD though, so she couldn't really be too involved with it because it's quite hard as well. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Should hope so.
oh yeah, I've heard they're quite hard at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it was obviously a bit crap, but we were building for a future, so that
Yeah.
was we were both happy to make the sacrifice.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, she was cool with it, and it meant
So
she didn't
where
really
were
have to go up, so she was fine with it actually.
yeah. So where were you living in Middlesbrough?
Roman Road,
Right.
for any of those who know it, but basically quite close to the town centre, but outside the sort of more awful parts.
Yeah. But you were in a HMO, were you not?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I just had a room.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, which is fun.
Brilliant.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. It was obviously like I preferred living in London, but I knew that this was what I wanted to do, so I just
Yeah.
did it. But it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
There's people in worse situations.
Oh God, yeah, I'm not. That's not what I mean. Yeah, just that I love hearing the sacrifices that people have made throughout their journeys, and the fact that you've left your girlfriend, wife to be, Holly at the time, driven 5 hours north to live in a HMO, um, just paints a picture of absolute dedication, and I love it. And when I asked you about it at the time, it was like, yeah, well, it just needs to be done, doesn't it? So I was like, I love that. It wasn't even a difficult decision for you. Whereas a lot of people freak out about moving 45 minutes away from where they were born. Um,
Yeah.
so I love that, mate. Absolutely love it. So how much did that improve things moving up there? Spending 5 days a week there. How much did that increase your progress?
Yeah, massively. But mainly it was the network that I was able to build up. and that's always the when people do ask for advice, I say ask someone else. But if they really push me, then I'll say, yeah, just network, because if you can if you can make friends, then in that industry, then that's how you're going to be successful. And
Yeah.
I yeah, 100% believe that if I didn't move up there and made all these connections with people like yourself and Theo as well, who's been on before. You guys were great when I first moved up there, because we could like see how we could like leverage one another
Yeah.
and work together, and yeah, it just propelled it like massively, massively.
Yeah, I remember you saying at the time that Theo was your second most important link of him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Oh, he's
yeah.
probably not listening, so it's fine.
No,
Yeah.
he does. He actually does listen. That's
Oh,
all
right.
right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just as important though.
Yeah, for sure. So how many properties did you get to within? You said you lived in Middlesbrough for a year. Tell us about that year. What did that produce?
So that one, I think we sourced, I say we, Holly had very little to do with it. I'm not sure why I'm giving her so much credit.
Let's hope she's not listening.
Oh God, no, she would definitely won't listen. She listens to everyone else, but not she won't listen to me.
Okay.
No, so yeah, we probably sourced we sourced more than we bought, definitely. So I think we sourced about one a month on average up there. And then I bought, just trying to remember the order. Oh yeah, I bought four that year for myself. So we sourced
Yeah.
one a month and I bought four,
Wow.
which is cool. And that was kind of my aim. I bought two the year before. I wanted to try and double that amount. So try and get four the next year.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
So by sourcing one a month, then you've not only produced an income that would allow you to live and pay your bills, but surely one a month, it must have been contributing to that investment pot as well.
Yeah, a bit, but I was still also technically living in London and Middlesbrough,
True.
so I did need that money to live.
Yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't, and also it was quite hard. Like the beginning took a bit of while to get going, like a bit of traction, and then so it wasn't like I got one a month. That was a lovely income. It was like nothing, 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 two,
Yeah.
three, nothing, 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 two,
Yeah.
three, four, nothing, nothing.
Yeah.
So it was sort of like there's a few points where I was like, oh, how long shall I give it? Like, shall I keep living here? Because I'm now not making any money and I'm just living in Middlesbrough for some reason,
Yeah.
away from all of my friends I had a really fun life in London where I also had money, which now I don't have any money.
Yeah.
Is this a good idea? I don't know.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few of those moments.
I bet there was.
But yeah, when the sourcing properties came in, then it was worth it. And then I did the refurb as well, so I was able to do sort of like 10% project management on those. And that was also really good because that helped me myself in terms of like building up contacts and yeah, learning more about refurbs and being able to price them more accurately and things like that.
Yeah.
Can't say I loved it, so that's where Theo and yourself came in shortly after that. But you had a much
Yeah.
bigger sort of like database of people to use as well, which I also leveraged, and you were very kind to share those
Yeah.
contacts. But
Did you find, was that the most challenging part of the whole process? The refurbs, did you find?
no, I'd probably say finding deals, because although there were, yeah, trying to get all money out deals is hard, and you have to put so many offers in. And I think realistically, like if I was getting like two or three accepted a month, that would have been a better situation, even though I would have had more refurbs. Then I guess if I was taking on refurb properties but not sourcing anymore, that would have been worse. So I
Yeah.
guess
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I didn't love the refurb side of it. It was okay, but I preferred the sort of like hustle and bustle of getting out viewing, negotiating, talking to vendors and things like that. That was more enjoyable for me. So
Yeah.
wait, maybe that does sound like refurbs were harder.
Yeah. It definitely does. Yeah.
I think refurbs were less enjoyable, but I'd say actually like finding the quantity of deals I wanted was more difficult because of the amount of time it took.
Yeah, for sure. You were doing a lot of direct to vendor stuff as well from memory, weren't you?
Yeah. I did various things. I did like leaflet drops, dabbled with Facebook ads. But probably my best one was actually just like walking around, and I had like a stack of handwritten notes, photocopied, but like appeared handwritten. And then I sort of scrumple them up a bit and then like push them through a door. and they got a much better response rate, even though it was more time intensive because I was wandering around, but I could target them a bit more. So like I could pick which houses I
Yeah.
wanted to put them in for. And that's still probably been my best, um, yeah, my best sort of source of leads really off market.
How did you
Um,
decide which, was it just from the exterior view of the property? How did you target, how did you decide which houses to drop those scrumpled up leaflets through?
yeah, probably the ones that I felt like I could it was a bit presumptuous, but ones that I felt like I could add value to, because that was the model I was doing. It was buy refurb refinance, so I needed to be able to do work to it to increase the value. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are the ones I was really targeting, but I also would do it maybe for like properties for let as well, especially like handwritten signs and stuff like that, so I could get in touch with landlords.
Yeah.
Or I do on those ones, I might do like land registry searches and stuff like that and try and actually like find the owner's details to send them a letter and things like that.
Mm.
So there was a few different things. Obviously, like if a house was up for sale and it wasn't like with an agent, that was obviously a big
An
one to
easy
go
one.
for. Yeah, easy
Yeah.
one, but that's kind of obvious. But
Mm.
yeah, no, there wasn't really anything specific. But I'd also talk to neighbors and just if I was like wandering around, I'd just say like, oh, I'm looking to move to the area, or looking to buy property around here. Do you know anyone that's looking to sell? Um, and then maybe give them of like £500 or something for introductions,
Yeah.
or if I bought the property,
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah. Where did you get most of your traction from? Were most of your deals through agents then, or were most of them direct to vendor?
No, I'd say most were agent deals, but we did get a few. Managed to source a five property portfolio that was all direct to vendor, um, and yeah, and various like individual properties. That was the only portfolio that I really landed in that time. But yeah, most of them were agents, but agents are a really good source, obviously. But making good connections with agents was also why I was there. It meant I could go into the office regularly. I could do viewings and chat to them, and meet up with them outside of the office and stuff like that. So that was also really important for me.
Yeah. So you were there a year, you lived there a year. You obviously got to the point where you felt it was time to move back to your previous life, if you like. Did you continue to buy property then, and did you continue to source property?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So that would have been 2020. So I did move back to London sort of just before COVID. Um, and yeah, I'd say like end of 2019, sort of first sort of a couple of months of like 2020 were where it was really like ticking. It was going really well. I think yourself, Theo, and me were sort of working together quite well at that point as well, where you obviously were doing the letting side of things. Theo's smashing the refurbs, and then I was sourcing. So that was ticking over quite nicely. Um, and then yeah, I felt like I didn't really need to be there the whole time, so that's why I decided to
Yeah.
move back. That was what I was saying about the network. Really, is I felt like I could condense the days to like 1 or 2 days a week, and be able to sort of see enough of the properties I wanted to see and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's when I sort of transitioned back down south, really.
Yeah. And did your criteria for a deal remain the same throughout? Or as that sort of investment pot grew, did you become comfortable with leaving a bit more money in deals? Or were you very stringent with it?
I found it quite hard to leave any more in when I'd when I'd already
Yeah.
experienced getting it all out or more. Like some of them we pull like 12, 13K out or something like that on top of what we'd spent. So like the mortgage covered
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Um, and so when that was sort of happening, I was like, well, do I want to leave more than that in? I don't know. Well, more than 12K, I mean. Do I want to yeah, I don't know. I didn't really change, to be honest. I was quite aggressive still with the offers. Maybe sourcing criteria changed a bit as I got more clients and people were a bit more relaxed with their criteria, which allowed me to maybe source more and buy more, essentially, in
Yeah.
the agent's eyes. So it meant my reputation grew and stuff like that. So
Mm.
yeah, don't know.
Yeah, it's a bit of an issue, that, isn't it? It's you almost become a victim of your own success. And I was the same, and I speak to a lot of people that were the same. And in the way I turned down so many deals where I was going to leave sort of 7 or 8 grand in the deal, and I used to think, not wasting my time with
How
that.
dare you?
Yeah, and now the properties have gone up 30 or 40% in value. I'm just like, what was I thinking? And I had cash there ready to buy the properties as well, and I didn't because it didn't meet my strict criteria at the time. And I drive past them now, and I'm just
Could have been.
like spitting on the garden. But no, so yeah, that's good, and I think we all fell into that. And obviously, things changed, prices started to rise, interest rates have now obviously gone up, so it's a completely different environment now. Would you say that what you've done there, Adam, what you've committed to moving up to Middlesbrough, that whole journey that you just spoke about, would you say that sort of model could be replicated in any part of the UK?
Um, I mean, technically, yes, but like realistically, probably not.
I know the numbers would be completely different. What I mean is the the sort of the processes that you put in place to actually move there quickly, build up your power team, as it were.
Ah,
Um,
oh
you know,
yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah. I think, yeah, for sure. People do it. You know, there are investors in every single area. I thought you meant like in a buy-to-let type of situation or BRR situation where you're buying
no,
it
obviously you couldn't do
big
that
discount.
in London or
Yeah,
wherever.
yeah.
But
But
just
you could do other
just
things
putting
in London.
yourself out there.
Yeah, you could definitely do other things in London, like, you know, serviced accommodation and things like that, or like rent to rent type things and
Yeah,
HMOs. If you specialize in something, you can make it work anywhere.
yeah,
Um, well, as if the strategy works, I mean.
yeah,
But if the strategy's already happening in there, then there's no reason why you can't go and do it as well.
yeah,
But yeah, some things will take a lot of work and more work than others. So it
yeah,
depends. Yeah, it depends really. But yeah, definitely, if you commit to something, you can do anything really.
yeah. So what does it look like now? What does your portfolio look like now, and how is it performing?
Yeah, so it's performing pretty well. All of my properties are with Orange Sales and Lettings, and
As they should be.
as they should be, of course. And I can say like with confidence that they've been managed well because we've been traveling for like a year and a half. Um, and in that whole time, I didn't really hear anything. You just dealt with everything. So I know you didn't ask for this plug, but it was brilliant because we were
No,
literally in like we were living in a van, we were traveling all across the world, well, all across Europe, and I just I didn't hear anything about the portfolio. It was all handled.
yeah,
So yeah, ticking over really nicely. We continue. I did look at doing other strategies, but my portfolio still pretty much consists of buy-to-lets and a couple of HMOs, but mainly is our main sort of like portfolio is we target buy-to-lets and I have continued to do that really.
yeah.
Um,
And why is that? Why have you not gone on to then do you sort of HMO service accommodation, the shiny pennies?
I guess because it was working, um, and also because we were traveling. So the
Yeah,
next steps for me will be commercial, I think. If I want to move on to that.
yeah,
But the things I've been looking at are like shops with uppers and things like that,
yeah.
like basic, not your sort of like mad, 30 flats or whatever you do these days. But
Principles are all the same.
yeah, I suppose, but a few more moving parts.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, no, I think having a diverse portfolio is really important, definitely. But for us, it's working well. We like providing homes for families, and I like hearing that the tenants are happy and they've created a life. And most of our tenants have been there since we don't get much tenant turnover.
yeah,
Like I've still got like a few tenants from back in 2018. Well, the third property I bought, 2018, still the same tenant.
brilliant.
And yeah, so that's the case of most of them really is the people that have moved in when after the refurb was finished have stayed there. And I really like that because it means that they've created a home, they feel happy there, they're comfortable. And yeah, it just feels good.
Yeah. So fast forward from that investment period, and like you touched on there, you're traveling around Europe, and I lost track of the countries that you went to in the end. But so you converted a van. Tell us about that.
So this was like after like how many 2018, 19, 20, 4 years of property, like full on, I decided that we'd kind of always planned to go traveling, but then because of like COVID and stuff, we thought that probably it might be difficult to do that because we kept going into lockdowns and stuff. So I kind of decided, oh well, if we made a van and then we move into the van, then we could just like travel around anyway and go across Europe and stuff, and that'd be quite fun. So yeah, I decided I was gonna convert a van, got into like all the van life videos and stuff on YouTube, spent yeah, literally more time than I probably care to divulge watching van conversion videos, but
Yeah.
then spent
It
like
is the best refurb I've seen you do, to be fair.
yeah. I mean, it's really expensive rent in it as well. So,
Yeah, I bet it is, yeah. So that must have
um,
been, you've gone from living in a shared house in Middlesbrough and giving it basically making huge sacrifices to then fast forward to that period and you sat in a van with your fiance and the dog, beautiful van, traveling around these beautiful countries, living off the rental income, I'm guessing. Um,
mhm.
you must have taken stock at that point and thought, bloody hell, it was worth it.
Yeah, definitely. That was so fun. Like we absolutely loved it. It was really cool, and I hadn't really stopped. I just always kept going and going and going and just trying to get the next one, trying to get the next one, and hadn't really taken
Yeah.
pause. So it's quite cool to then be like, okay, cool. And especially as I was self-employed before that, like I said, I was taking a Friday off. I wasn't getting paid for that day. So I was in a before I was in a very much in the world of like if you don't work, you don't get paid. The
Hmm.
thought of like passive income was completely alien. Even like
Yeah.
getting paid to be on holiday wasn't happening for me. So yeah, to then be able to spend like a year and a half just yeah traveling around just the most amazing parts of Europe and yeah being able to do that
Yeah.
for as long as we wanted in a way was just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and
Um,
that was one of the key goals for you from day one, wasn't it? You always wanted that freedom. I know from talking to yourself and Holly over the years, you'd always had traveling in mind. So that was one of your key drivers to investing in property.
Yeah, 100%. And we'd always had a goal on the wall of like how much we needed a month to travel. So we were just like working towards that. And then but when we sort of hit it, we were just like, cool, we're ready to go.
Yeah,
So yeah, it was totally worth it. And I think it was easily worth the sacrifice to of those few years. Which I say sacrifice. I loved it. It was really
yeah,
fun. There was no point where I felt hard done by or I was like, oh, this is awful. I'm having a terrible time. Even like I said, with like when money was getting a bit tight when I was living up in Middlesbrough, and I was still very grateful for the fact that I was able to do that.
yeah,
I just didn't know if it was financially viable to do it forever, not
yeah,
not make any money. But
yeah.
um, yeah, it was totally worth it because now we're in a position where we've got these houses for life, really.
Yeah, exactly. And those properties are going to keep going up in value. The rents are going to keep going up in value, and regardless of what interest rates do in the northeast, the returns are so good that you're pretty insulated against most things, aren't you, financially? So what does the next few years look like for you, Adam? What are your plans, property wise? Do you have any further investment plans? What are you looking at?
So while I was traveling, I got a bit of time to like think about what I really wanted to do. And alongside investing, I wanted another form of income because I didn't want to be completely exposed to property. So I started looking at some trading, did a bit of trading, and then eventually settled on creating a business like for estate agents and letting agents
Yeah,
in property tech really. So that's where I've been hammering recently. I'm still interested in investing in property as well, but for the moment, this is my main aim is to build out different property softwares and help, I guess, bring a estate agency and letting agency into today's world because a lot of it is not orange, I know, but a lot of estate agents and stuff that I've spoken to, they still like write things down on paper and
yeah,
and stuff like that, which is mad. Everything's done manually. All like contracts are drafted manually and property descriptions and um, bookings and things like that. Everything's handled completely manually. And I get that you want to keep the sort of like personal touch, but a lot of this
mhm,
isn't to do with personal touch. It's just inefficient. So yeah,
yeah,
that's where I'm working at the moment.
yeah. And is that from an AI point of view?
Yeah, so predominantly AI. AI is moving so fast that I wanted to get in on this really as early as I could. And technically, I've already missed the boat, but or I didn't get it from the start anyway. But but there's so much to learn. It's evolving so quickly that actually, even if you join now, if you can keep up with it,
Yeah,
then you can become 10 times more knowledgeable than anyone else in a very short space of time, and provide solutions that actually are not that difficult to implement, but can make a massive difference to businesses.
yeah. Brilliant. Well, that's it's a bit of a curveball from what you were doing previously, but it's still within the property realm. Do you think you'll buy any further properties?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, that I think either we'll continue with the buy-to-lets, or if I'm going to be, if I re once I've sort of like changed my aim from the property tech a little bit, and that's sort of business is built up even more, where I don't need to be focusing on it quite so hard. I think I'll
Yeah,
be looking at commercial a bit more, because like I said, I want to diversify. I've got the buy-to-let residential type properties of income, whereas having a commercial or business aspect to it as well would be, I think, is quite important, really.
yeah,
And also, like, even within properties themselves, you can diversify it. So like a shop with an upper, you've got two different incomes. If one moves out, the mortgage is probably still covered.
yeah,
So yeah, so commercial wise is where I'm going to be looking next.
yeah. So, and will you be looking in the northeast again? Will it be the northeast that you target?
Yeah, I think so. I've got the contacts up there. I've got the sort of like property knowledge up there, I guess. So um, yeah, I think so, but never say never, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, if I say the word success to you, Adam, what does that mean to you?
Um, I wouldn't say I'm there yet. My goals have never really been, I guess, like money driven. So my goals are what money can give me. So for me, you probably know, I'm a vegan, so I take like I really like animals and stuff like that. So for me, what my ultimate goal is to create animal sanctuaries, and have that paid for by property.
Yeah,
So until that happens, I probably wouldn't say, yeah, I've been successful yet.
yeah.
What about for
So, what
you?
does
What
that
does it
look
mean for
like?
you?
What does that look like? Sorry, what was that?
What's success mean for you?
Success for me equals freedom. Um, my highest value. I've done many value tests over the years in employment and in personal development, and my number one value is freedom. Um, I've never been one for flash watches and cars and big houses and stuff like that, but I've always craved absolute autonomy. I have a real issue with being told what to do, and I always have done. Um, and yeah, just the freedom to, and I don't mean freedom to walk around barefoot, through the desert of wherever. Freedom looks like to me is literally waking up wherever I am in the world and deciding what I do that day. And that could be work, that could be get my head down and work, or that could be go to the gym and then go on a long run. It could be an arduous, challenging task, but the fact is you've chosen to do that because you have ultimate freedom, and that's what success looks like to me.
And do you think you've got there now, or do you think have you got a
No.
sort of like, so where how do you know when you've got there?
um because my day is very structured currently, so I'm up at stupid o'clock. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the gym before 5, and I do all of that not because I prefer to train at that time. I mean, it is good to get out the way and then the day's yours, but I do that because my day is just packed appointment, back to back appointments all day. Be that growing Orange, the sales and lettings business, doing my own property developments, doing refurbs for the people, mentoring other investors. I've got a packed diary, um, and I have to be very organised. And my team are better at that than me, so they keep me organised. Um, but there will come a point when I say, right, I'm going to sort of chisel down on my workload and just concentrate on the real high value stuff. And maybe a few of those things that I've just listed will fall by the wayside. But again, that will be me having the freedom to ultimately say, right, I'm concentrating solely on that. That's going to take me 2 to 3 hours a day, and then the rest of the day is mine. I'll do what I want. but I'm not there
Nice.
yet. I've made huge steps towards it. Don't get me wrong. I've like the same as you. I've made huge progress, but I'm still not there yet.
Well, I think you're close. From all I
Yeah,
know about you, you're not far off.
you're your
You've
own
done
worst
incredibly
critic,
well.
aren't you? So you're always looking to. I'm the same as you. That I'm always looking for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. I very rarely sit and take stock. Maybe on holiday, but even on holiday, I get the laptop out and I'm reading self-improvement books by the pool. Or there's always a there's always a progression sort of motive there, no matter what I'm doing. But um,
But that's what makes you happy.
it is, yeah,
You
ultimately
like
it is.
you
I love
like to be
it.
driven. I've never
I
known you
do.
to sit around do nothing. You always have
No,
something on.
I'll never change. Yeah, I'll never change. I was the same as a kid. Always looking to be better than yesterday. Um, I guess. And but it is important, I think, to take stock. My friend used to be the same as we are, and always looking for the next thing. But nowadays he's very good. Neil Gibb, who was on this show, he's very good at now at assessing what the very recent past and the historical past, and taking the learnings from that, and really taking note of how far you've come. I think that's very important.
Mm.
But I'm rubbish at it.
You're always looking forward. You never look back.
Exactly. So yeah. So the end goal for, I think you've answered this, but what's the end goal for you? You've talked about the animal sanctuaries, which is an amazing motive, and yeah, and that sure, I'm guessing those animal sanctuaries aren't going to be all UK based, so that would allow you to keep traveling. As I know you love traveling. So, but what else apart from that? What's the end goal?
Well, freedom, like you, I guess, is the ultimate one because that's where I would prefer to be spending my time. Um, like you, I'm nowhere near yet in my eyes. I want to. I'm still at the very much the growth phase. I want to be pushing at whatever I'm doing, because ultimately, the more money you can generate, the more options you have, and the more you can do in the future. And from my goals, the more I can help, basically. So yeah, still pushing. Um, and yeah, I guess like obviously I have like financial goals that are derived from probably how much I'd need to do certain things like the animal sanctuaries or maybe like where we want to live. Um, so yeah, I mean for now I'm kind of like you, I'm just looking forward and I'm just trying to work as hard as possible for as much as I can of the day to try
Yeah,
and push myself forward. And then I guess like when I was traveling, it was a good time to take stock. And I wasn't really working for a lot of that period, but then I got bored. So then I started looking at trading and then I was spending hours like learning that side of things. Um, but then I realized that's not what I want to do either because I mean, I do it still, but the thing that I don't like about it is you can't work harder to make more money with it. You're completely at the mercy of if the setup's there, and things like that. Like even if you spend longer at the charts, that still doesn't mean you're going to be able to make more money from that. And that annoyed me because I like being able to work
yeah,
hard to
that would
make.
annoy me. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So that's when I realized like this is a good thing to have to do like once a day, long term or semi long term, and it can be a good little investment pot, but it isn't the answer to what I want from my
yeah,
life. So that's
yeah,
that's what drew me to the business side of things. And I guess
yeah,
you kind of probably went through a slightly similar thing with Orange in a way, because you obviously had the properties, but a business is another diverse income.
yeah,
And it tied in perfectly with yours, in terms of you managing your own properties anyway, or you
yeah,
could take them on and then you could do it for everyone else as well. And you
yeah,
also knew the pain and stuff like that. And I guess that's similar with my ideas of the property tech is I've worked so much with estate agents and letting agents and built up a lot of contacts with them all that I can actually have proper conversations with them and say what is the problem, what is slowing you up, and then it means that you can still work in the same industry, but it's another income.
yeah.
It's a different type of business, but scalable, and things like that. Really, I don't
Mm.
know if that really
I
answered
think
your question.
I think you'll gain. I think you'll gain a lot of respect from people, and I'm looking at using your software, as you know. So, but with if a guy with a laptop walking in that I didn't know, um, and said he's trying to sell me some prop tech, and he'd done nothing in property. He was just a techie guy that saw a gap in the market. I wouldn't really be that keen on sitting down and talking to him. But if a guy comes in and says, "Look, I'm a portfolio landlord myself, an investor myself. I've done this, I've done my refurbs, and now I'm looking to push this bit of software." I'd sit back and listen, because you're doing it from our side of the fence type of thing. You're looking to solve problems that exist, rather
Yeah.
than just looking to make money out of a bit of software.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was partly why I decided to go down this route, because obviously like AI could be implemented in any business really,
Yeah,
but having a bit of experience and you skip out a learning curve. If I were to try and implement it in another business, I'd have to learn all about that business, and also like you said, I wouldn't have any sort of like voice in that market. Whereas at least with this one, I can show what I've done. I've worked with, don't know, many different estate agents over the years. And I've heard them moan about what's frustrating and things like that. And obviously I've got friends like you and Theo who have estate agents who you can actually like say, this is frustrating. This doesn't work.
yeah,
I need to, like you say, your diary's absolutely packed at the moment.
yeah,
That's what we want to sort of help estate agents with,
yeah.
to try and streamline that.
And have you always had that? Have you always had that business itch? Because I always say property is not a business. Even if you're buying properties within a limited company, it's not a trading business. It doesn't teach you anything about business, does it? It's just a holding model.
Yeah, 100%. Like ever since I listened to 4 Hour Work Week,
Yeah,
as soon as I listened to that, I was like, that's what I want. That's awesome. I mean, not to work 4 hours a week. I mean, the
yeah,
idea of being able to scale something and sell something and have a
yeah,
product, and again, like kind of like the harder you work, the more you can achieve.
yeah,
So yeah, definitely. I agree. Property isn't really a business unless you, as in like investing. If you have a refurb business or a letting agency, that obviously that is, but just literally buying property,
yeah,
it isn't quite the same. So yeah, I have
yeah,
always had that desire to make something like that.
yeah,
And I guess again, that's what properties allowed me to do, because it's giving me the time now to focus on building this. Whereas
yeah,
if I had to just go and do a job, I'd only have a couple of hours a day really, to really work on it. And especially like trying to talk to agents, they all work in business hours, so that would be virtually impossible.
yeah,
So again, like property gives you freedom and allows you to explore other avenues
yeah.
and then
Without a
follow a bit
doubt.
more of a passion.
Yeah, I think a lot of investors, especially those with a short-term outlook, they get quite frustrated that property doesn't ultimately make them rich. It's a very slow burner, as you know yourself, Adam. But I think you've just nailed it there. It might not make you rich, but it'll give you enough money to provide a platform for you to go out and take a few educated risks
Mm.
in another area. It may be property related, it may be not, but knowing that you've got a few grand a month coming in passively or semi-passively, just gives you that platform and that confidence that, right, my personal bills are going to be paid by my properties. I can now go out and take a few risks that, if I didn't have any other income, I'd be reticent to take.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's every chance that risk you take could explode into something mega,
Yeah,
and then you can put that back into property to continue the
exactly.
passive
Yeah,
income.
yeah,
So yeah, it's a circle really. And once you have the skill of investing in property, that's not something you're going to use for like 6 months. You'll be able
no,
to use that for the rest of your life, and you
yeah,
can always invest in property, because at the end of the day, I don't. Well, we've said, everyone's heard it before. Property isn't get rich quick, because it takes time for these things to come in. And if you're
yeah,
getting like 200, 300 quid a month from like a buy to let, you're not going to get, you're going to have to buy a fair few of those to be like a millionaire.
yeah,
But like you say, it gives you the chance to get yourself financially stable, especially in like, with today, with all the cost of living crisis and stuff like that. Having that extra income, even if you carried on working, is still very powerful for you.
yeah. Of course it is.
So yeah, exactly. You just gotta. I think it's a skill worth learning, and a skill worth just keep keep improving it and working on it for the rest
Yeah,
of your life, really.
exactly. And you may not go through another period where you buy 7 or 8 properties a year, but you don't necessarily need to. You can fine tune that and start to cherry pick your investments as you go along. But I also say this: property is not just a wealth creator, it's a great wealth protector because it's a great protector against inflation. Property prices generally outperform inflation, and inflation erodes any debts that you have on the properties. So it's a great wealth protector, I think. But last couple of questions, Adam, that I ask everyone because it's always quite an interesting to go through. But if you could start all over again, is there anything you would do differently?
Probably not. If we're doing it like a time machine type scenario,
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to change anything because it's worked. And I know that I've seen so many people go through property courses where it hasn't worked. And I don't think that was potentially any fault of their own a lot of the time. It's just
Mm.
bad luck and good luck.
Was it
And
the
you
right
can,
decision to do in hindsight? Was it the right decision to do the course?
yeah, I think it was because it gave me accountability. And I have so much respect for people who don't do it through a course and just go for it. But I know that I wouldn't have done that because
Mm.
I wouldn't have. I don't think I would have had maybe the confidence, the understanding of where to get the knowledge. There's so many people who's like telling you what to do in property that I would have just been like, oh my God, I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Um, and it also, I didn't find it was certainly back when I started, I didn't think it was readily available as it is now, where I think it's so much more prevalent on social media. Everyone's talking about it. It's a bit of a different scenario to how it was in like 20 end of 2017, 2018.
Definitely.
So I think maybe I might have come across it at some point, but I don't think I would have started then for sure. And I wouldn't have scaled as quickly as I did because
Yeah.
I would never have thought about using other people's money. Um,
Mhm.
Again, unlike, maybe social media might have introduced me to that at some point, but back then that was like, what? I didn't even know what an angel investor was, hadn't heard any of these terms. So yeah, I'd say the course, I mean, it's worked. It's worked for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd
Yeah,
probably,
it's interesting that you say you respect people that haven't done it, that have done it without doing courses. But conversely, I know what you're saying there, and I agree. But conversely, I also respect people that have recognised that this is something they want to do and put their money where their mouth is. To when you know nothing about property and you don't own any property, to put say 25 grand down on a property course and be that certain that you wanted to give this a go, I respect that as well. I think it's quite, especially for a lot of people put it on credit cards. It's quite risky,
mm,
and so to go out and do that and then follow up with the action, which is obviously the most important thing. I do respect that in people as well.
yeah, I see it. I definitely see it from both point of views. And I guess like at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how you do it
No,
as long as you do it. So
no,
it's just whatever your
exactly.
personality type takes. Like I'm sure like if I'd met you before I'd bought any courses, I would have just been like taking you out for endless coffees until you're sick and just trying to like
I
find out,
never get sick of coffee. Yeah,
and done it that
completely
way. But
fine.
so if you
Yeah,
know someone in the industry that you can do it that way, then that's great. And actually,
yeah,
having said that, the only way I might have done it differently is to find like just a coach that would work one-on-one with me rather than a generic property course, because then you get that one-on-one time. And yeah, and now this is going to sound like a plug now, but that's what I started doing for others, just to work one-on-one with new people because I felt like spending like 20 grand on a course was totally unnecessary.
yeah,
But I did think well, I still do think you need some sort of accountability for it because it is a daunting amount of money to spend on like to buy a property,
yeah,
especially if you're using investor money.
yeah,
So that's maybe how, and you said you do mentoring as well. Like, so that's
yeah,
maybe the only way I probably would have done it differently, but I wouldn't
yeah,
have heard of that kind of thing.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So last one then. If we had a brand new newbie investor sat with us here today, and he said, he or she said to us, Adam, give me one piece of advice. You're only allowed to give me one before I embark on this journey. What would that piece of advice be?
Hmm. Well, like I said earlier, I normally say network is your net worth, but that's a bit boring. What I'd actually, in terms of advice, I'd say actually just go and view loads of houses and speak to loads of
Yeah,
agents and get to know an area inside out. And it doesn't really matter what area, as long as it, like we said earlier about the strategy working. If the strategy works there, yeah, the advice would be just to go and view and talk to agents endlessly and
yeah.
get to know an area really well.
Mm. So have complete clarity on the strategy that you want to use, be it HMOs or buy-to-lets, whatever. Do your research, find areas that suit that strategy, and then just go all in on one.
Yeah, but that was like 4 bits of advice. You said
Yeah,
one.
I'm trying to put yours into a nutshell.
Yeah, no,
It's
that's
my
it.
podcast, so I'm allowed to give as much advice as I want. So you're only allowed to give one.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, that was very very succinctly put. That was good.
Yeah, brilliant. Listen, mate, it's been amazing to have you on. I really appreciate it. We're now going to have a meeting about the AI software that you're going to supply my business, which is exciting. What is the best place for people to find you, mate?
So I'm still on
Online, I mean. Don't give your address out.
Who's that? No. I'm still on Instagram, Adam Garland Property, or you can go on LinkedIn, Adam Garland. Just find me there.
Brilliant. Okay, buddy. Good luck with everything. If you are watching or listening to this online, please do like, subscribe, and share. It really does help. Until next time, take care.